In addition to covering Angel Reese, the media also made fun of her former NBA player Eaton Thomas, who recently lit the internet on fire.
Really clear that they made Angel Reese the villain after she beat Caitlin Clark, who was really kind of held up as, the great white hope. She's a fantastic player, but then the media kind of went into this narrative of the villain, and that's what happened.
Pointing out how Angel Reese has been transformed by the sports industry into the black villain of women's basketball. It's the traditional dynamic where one player receives adoration and the other receives hate. While Reese has been portrayed as the issue, the villain, and the person that people love to root against, is it really that easy? Or is this the oldest instance of the media twisting racial rivalry and controversy into money? Caitlin Clark is the golden girl, the face of the WNBA's new era. Thomas didn't hold back as he delivered a shocking revelation that exposed a far larger problem. He claims that because nothing sells like a good versus evil story, the media required Reese in the villain position rather than merely forcing her into it. This is more than just a theory. Reese, the self-assured, unrepentant black player, became the ideal counterpoint to Clark, the great white hope of basketball. Was this intentional? WNBA games are smashing records, audiences skyrocketed, and all of a sudden, everyone has an opinion about women's hoops. Before we get into the most intense debate of the season, make sure to like and subscribe to this video. I promise you won't want to miss this. Former NBA player Eaton Thomas just added fuel to an already blazing fire by calling out the media, exposing what he claims is a manufactured narrative that turned Angel Reese into the black villain while pushing Caitlin Clark as the great white hope. But is he correct? Has the media been inflaming racial tension just to increase views? Let's go back to the 2023 NCAA Championship, where everything exploded. Tension between Reese and Caitlin Clark was already present, but one moment turned the script. After winning, Reese waves her hand in front of her face in the John Cena fashion before pointing at her ring finger, exactly the same taunt that Clark had used only a week earlier. This is where things got crazy, though, because when Clark did it, the media got it. She was fiercely competitive and a killer on the court, but when Reese returned, the energy boom was immediately labeled classless, unsportsmanlike, even a thug by some irate fans. Social media went crazy, with every talking head on Fox Sports having an opinion. Eaton Thomas claims that the media wanted a villain because they needed a contrast, and because Reese was bold, unapologetic, and, let's be honest, black, she was the ideal target. Fast forward to 2024, and Reese and Clark are no longer just college stars. They are in the WNBA, and the rivalry is more intense than ever. Clark enters the league as the most talked-about player in women's basketball history, and every move she makes garners front-page coverage, and Reese is there too, but the dialogue is different. The moment Chicago flattened Clark was the one that truly set the fire. No call from Sky Chin Carter. Clark falls heavily, and Angel, what matters is that Reese's celebration of it drove the internet into a frenzy. Some considered it justified payback, while others claimed it was a cheap hit. Reese was dragged through the mud once more, and Carter hardly received any attention. Instead, the emphasis was on Reese's response to the hit, and this is what Thomas is referring to when he claims that the storyline surrounding Reese is no longer about basketball but rather about portraying her as the enemy and keeping her in that villain box while Clark is still being honored. This is where things start to get really interesting. In addition to Reese and Clark, Thomas also brings up Paige Bueckers, who, for those who are unaware, is a complete phenomenon. She has been dominating at UConn, is predicted to be the first overall pick in the WNBA draft, and has the game to support it. Why isn't she receiving the same ridiculous media attention as Clark? Thomas has an answer. She doesn't have a black villain. Although Booker is arguably just as good as her black rival, the storylines aren't as juicy because she doesn't have a villain to play off of, so the media machine doesn't latch on the same way. This is where it gets even deeper. Clark and Reese's rivalry made headlines for years as people took sides in what became a race-based debate. Bueckers, in contrast, to since Clark has previously addressed racial issues in her speech to honor black women in basketball after winning College Athlete of the Year at the ESPYs in 2021, Thomas points out that Clark has largely remained silent. What does that mean? Well, Thomas is posing an uncomfortable question. Is Middle America more at ease supporting an athlete like Clark because she is perceived as the safe choice? Let's take a step back from the media and discuss how this actually affects players, because the drama from all of this isn't just online. It's real life for these athletes. Despite not having been personally involved in the Clark-Reese dispute, Washington Mystics star Shakira Austin claims that the consequences for women's basketball has been terrible and that it's getting worse. She talks about how women in the WNBA are already fighting for respect, but now they have to deal with even more hate, especially on social media. She claims that the situation involving Caitlyn and Angel is getting pretty bad. Austin's dad calls her up, angry at the online trolls, and he wants to lash out at them, but Austin responds, "Dad, no, just ignore them." And here's a completely different viewpoint that's trending right now. After leading the team to a 2023 national championship, Angel Reese deserves a statue and retired jersey. One viral X post with over 80,000 views stated, "My takeaway from today, LSU, it's time to retire Angel Reese's jersey and build that statue." Hold up, Sylvia Fowles, one of LSU's greatest players ever, doesn't even have a statue yet, claim other supporters, who are not entirely on board. And Simone Augustus just received hers. The argument is real. Did Reese do enough to earn those accolades now? Or should LSU wait? If you thought Reese was done making headlines, nope, something crazy happened recently at the McDonald's All-American Jam Fest. AJ Debinsa, the top prospect for 2025, literally jumped over WNBA player Debinsa, who had just committed to BYU. He is predicted to be the top pick in the 2026 NBA draft, and this dunk just put him on an even larger stage. Reese took it all in stride, but it's another instance that puts her name in the news, whether it's because of controversy or simply being a part of history. Let's face it, though, this isn't just about Caitlyn Clark and Angel Reese. It concerns a system that requires friction to thrive. For years, the WNBA has been vying for fans' attention, then all of a sudden, a divisive rivalry breaks out and ratings skyrocket. The sports world needed a villain, and historically, that villain has nearly always looked like Reese. Reese didn't just happen to be the one. When Eaton Thomas, a former NBA player, pointed out how the media thrives on this relationship, it made me uneasy. Reese was cast in a role that reflected her confidence and was never merely a basketball player. In a world where stories sell more than talent, it's no accident that she gets called out for being overconfident while Clark gets praised for his competitive fire. The worst part is that everyone wins except Reese because of her trash talk and unrepentant attitude. This cycle has been present in sports for decades. Take a look at Serena Williams and Shaw Richardson. The WNBA attracts more attention, the networks invest money, and Clark becomes an even bigger sensation. But Reese is left to bear the burden of a name she never requested. If Angel Reese was transformed into a villain who is actually winning, and if the media can determine who is the hero and who is the problem, do we even watch sports anymore, or is it just a scripted drama, Angel? Going all the way back to Muhammad Ali, Black athletes who play with passion are perceived as threats. I want to hear from you now. Do you believe the media purposefully made Angel Reese the Black villain, or is this just how sports rivalries operate? If Reese and Clark had switched roles, do you think the response would have been different? Reese didn't create the villain role. The game did, and if we don't question it now, it will keep happening over and over again, and that's it. Additionally, do you think Caitlyn Clark should publicly address the racial controversy surrounding her and Reese, or is that not her responsibility? Do you agree with Eaton Thomas that Paige Buckners hasn't achieved the same amount of fame as Clark because she doesn't have a so-called black villain? Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked this in-depth look, please hit the like button and subscribe to receive updates on the most important WNBA discussions, controversy, and insider information. I promise you that this conversation is only getting started, so don't forget to click the notification bell. That's it for now, and I'll see you all at the next one.